Okay, I'm in the junk room with my new Redcat Kaiju. I thought to myself, there's plenty of videos showing this thing in action, what it's worth, and all that other good stuff. But there's no videos of this thing in pieces yet. So I decided to go in and make a video showing the guts of this thing. And for $400, you was really getting something that's actually pretty good. I'm not gonna say it's great. I mean, it's a Redcat. If that actually means anything. I mean, this thing is actually pretty solid. And when I say solid, I mean it's actually worth the hype. I mean, usually you get these cars and tear them up and and I mean, the hype is literally half of the battle with these things. I mean, what you get, you pay for what you get. You get what you pay for. I mean, it's that simple. But for $400, you're getting something that can run 6S. Now, whether it can actually run 6S, well, let's get to the guts. What we have here is the center diff. Nice plastic spur gear, big differential cup, and it's all plastic. The output for it, well, the input for the diff is another story. It's centered. Now, I keep on going on about centered stuff is awful and bad, but this actually appears to be not just centered, but heat treated. Now, I have hardly ever seen a heat treated differential gear in any RTR I've ever seen. No. If it's centered, it's usually straight out of the mold and right in the car. But this is, it's something else. And not only that, the input for the differential is made so that you can easily get to this thing. I mean, you can have this whole car apart in about 10 minutes. The input is actually in two pieces. One part is on the input shaft for the differential, and then it's splined so that it keys into the actual gear for the diff. It slides in, and it had no grease on it, so grease it up. Take your car apart and deal with it. But I'll get into that later. This is literally what's making this car a complete car right here. I mean, this center diff is stout in its own right. I mean, I know I said it has a plastic spur gear and whatnot, but I ran this thing for about an hour today and tried to completely destroy it, and it took all of it. And this has been ran already, and there's not a mark on it. But getting off on a tangent, it has a absolutely enormous pinion gear. It's 10 tooth. So for a pinion, it's actually small in teeth, but it is huge, splined to completely match up with the large splines on the spur gear. So when it's in there, let's actually get it in there right. So when it's in there, it's actually matching up with it completely perfectly. And there's a lot of connection space with that gear. I mean, it is about I mean, the spur gear is it's about 9 millimeters long. I mean, wide. Every last inch of that is meeting up with this. Is meeting up with the pinion, because the splines are so deep in the pinion, and the pinion is so large, well, width-wise, length-wise, that it can match up with the spur gear completely. Now, that might become a problem with gearing this thing up, because 10 tooth is, yeah, it's kind of really low. Even for this motor, is really low. But to find a spur pinion that's larger than this and is splined enough to actually meet up with this thing completely is going to be pretty difficult. But does this car really need it? I would say for speed, yes. But for pure power and the way this thing runs, hell no. Seriously. This thing on 6S is a fireball. I have not said that about any car I've ever driven. Nutball, maybe. But a fireball, this thing is a fireball. Okay, so let's get to what most people want to know and why I have this little mess down here. This is the rear diff. I just opened this about, 10 minutes ago. It has nothing in it. Open your car up and service the damn thing. It's an RTR. We all know that the diffs are going to have nothing in it. I mean, it's coated in something, and it is diff fluid, but yeah. The center diff was about half. Oh, yeah, let's not have that go bouncing somewhere. The center diff had it was about 1/3 full, and it has about 100,000 weight in it. That's what it felt like. So I filled it up and closed it back up. The front diff, it was the same as the rear. It had nothing in it. So I put 30K in the front. I'll put 30K in the rear too. I mean, that's kind of thick for the rear, but that's a typical race setup. If you want to go bashing, that's pretty much what comes stock with the Italian. So I don't know, maybe it'll work for that. And pretty much it's a lot thinner than 30K. This is like 10K, but I don't really care. I mean, the wheels are gonna balloon like crazy anyway, so it really doesn't matter. Yeah, people then already went through how much they look and feel like Badlands, and they do. We know that. But this is not what this video is about. It's about the guts. So I will continue to the guts. Okay, next is how easy it is to get to these diffs. Now, this is completely a disassemble. The wheelie bar is still on, and yet I didn't easily was able to get the diff out. Mainly because it sits, the diff case sits inside of this thing. And these two ridges, and it is stuck down in there. So when it's in there, you even hear it click in place. It's not going anywhere. And then there's two screws on each side of this. All you do is pop those two screws out, and out come the diff. In other words, two screws holds the diff in place. That's nuts. And not only that, there's no way this thing is moving, because it's pretty much captured at the bottom. That is ingenious. Two screws. So yeah, that's the rear diff. Front diff has this thing that sits right there, and that's screwed into the bottom of the diff. Now, when this cup is on there, it's the exact same as the rear. It seats into the actual housing for the hinge pin holders, and it's locked in place by the hinge pin holder. So yeah, I mean by the bottom of the diff case that's connected to the hinge pin holder. So yeah, that's a really nice design. So, but this thing is in the way. So there's and not only that, but it's also connected to the diff itself, the diff case. So you will have to take this bumper off to get to the front diff. But other than that, it's 2 bolts and it's right off, just like the rear. This bumper is held on by the skid plate on the front, which is 4 screws, and the connection point to the diff itself, which is our 2 more screws. So 6 screws, that comes off, and you're able to get to the front diff. Now, I already filled the front diff with my lovely 30K, so I'm going to put this thing back in here. Let's see, where is it? Okay, I'm Butterfingers now. Oh yeah, and the shim for this is enormous. Oh yeah, and also another thing about this car is that absolutely every bearing on this thing is rubber sealed. Every single one of them. You can't say enough about that. You really can't. So let's put this thing back together. If I can get this CVD and stop being Butterfingers. And if it stopped getting caught in the shock. I really do suck at doing this. With my armors, I usually grab some needle nose pliers to hold the CVD while I'm doing all of this with it. But I think I can get it back together with my hands, so I will try. And get the shim to line up, and it's, just like that. This really is an ingenious design. And I didn't even mention just how big these diffs are. These things are enormous. They are so much larger than the Helium diffs. And I have no idea where these diffs came from. I don't know what car they came from. Don't know what design they are, but it doesn't even matter. We got them right here in the Kaiju, and they are enormous. Okay, so I'll snap it down. Make sure it's actually in there. Yep, it's in there. Oh, it's getting hooked up with the shim. Ah, there it goes. All I have to do is just get that shim back on. And it's all back together. Now the front input It's pretty much the same as the rear, except it's connected to one of the drive cups. And then that seats. Wow, it can actually fall out without being secure. Okay, let me try to hold all of this together without screwing it in. Okay, which screw it was? It was this long one. They definitely didn't want this dip going anywhere using these long screws. But while I'm doing this, I don't want it to go anywhere either, so I'll put one in. Okay, so we have the bearing and the input, and it's all ready to go. The input literally sits, just sits right in place. And it has these little rubber, well, silicone washers, rubber washers like the O-ring thing that seals the inside of the diff. It has like 2 of those in there. And the same for the rear output. There's 2 of them in there. So they will hold this massively long shaft together and coupled just like that. And the shaft really won't move at all with these 2 things in there. Now, going to the bottom of this thing, how this shaft really does sit in here with the diff is kind of ingenious, really. I mean, you have your diff, which is absolutely ridiculously easy to get to. Then you have your shaft, which sits in there just like that. It hooks onto this thing, which trying to do this while filming is a little difficult to say the least. But yeah, it's not really that hard. And it is doable. Actually, it would be easy just to put this in there first. Yep, there it goes. Throw the shaft in there. And you're pretty much ready to go. Now the inside, the diff is held down by this thing that sits right in there, screws down 2 bolts. And this little thing, this little guy right here. And it is directional, so know which way you're putting it on there. It won't go on there one way or the other. It's only going to go on one way. In other words, it wants to sit in there one way. Otherwise, the screw holes won't line up. And then you grab your screws. I'm not going to do them all the way. The screw's long as heck. And then you diff it down. And it's stuck there. Done. That's why I'm saying this design really is ingenious, though. But me and my unlimited goofiness didn't actually put it in there right. So I can fumble around with it again and get it in there the right way. While everything is falling apart. Yeah, this is pretty much one of those lovely impromptu videos. I can make as long as heck. As long as the GoPro has batteries, it's all good. And the batteries are dying. So I'm not going to let this go longer than 30 minutes. I promise. Okay, so now we're back in business. Everything's attached. We can sit those down in there. Now, I'm not putting this thing completely back together because it's literally useless to do so. But as compartmentalized as this thing is, it is a really nice piece of kit. And yes, it does come apart in 3 parts, just like everything that we thought it would. Now, these 2 things, these are the 2 skids that sit just like this. You can tell which one, they're not both the same. One has this cutout for the rear diff, one don't. It's that simple. So, see which one has the cutout for the rear diff, throw it on. It goes on first. There's a tab right there. So it lines up with that, and yeah, done. And these 2 things have to go on first. Otherwise, the skids won't be able to lock into place because there's a tear part right here that lines up with the skid. Yeah, this is just a really ingenious design. And it actually clamps down on everything and holds everything in place. Solid as a rock. And this is still all plastic chassis. I mean, this, for $400, you're definitely getting your money's worth. This is awesome stuff. But I still haven't called it great, though. Mainly because, yeah, we got a receiver box here. And yeah, it's not waterproof. Redcat. Now, it does seal up quite nicely though, but no silicone. It's not waterproof. As for the receiver itself, yeah, it's coated in a polyurethane, so it's waterproof. But water can still get in this if you are really trying to get water in it. So I'll just leave it at that. So I've nearly put this thing back together and yet hardly screwed anything down guts wise. Now, I told you I've been running this thing for a good hour today and have baptized the body with a nice amount of scars. And you can pretty much stunt truck the heck out of this thing, just like an Outcast. I mean, have it running on his, just running down the street, on his, just clawing the body to bits. Yeah, and I don't really mind tearing this body up. I mean, I'm probably going to get another clear body and paint it the color I want to. I mean, this blue is really nice. So I might get another body after I've completely destroyed this one. And then reinforce the heck out of it so that it doesn't end up like this after an hour. Yeah, something like what I did to my lovely Forest Outcast body. This thing has been through hell, and yet it is still holding up. mainly because every time it ends up on its hood, it's clawing these things up instead of glorious, delicious body. Yeah, we can get a view of just how they match up, and they don't. You gotta love this thing. For H scale, it is small, but this is one of those little lovely Yome things that you can find on Amazon or eBay. No, yeah, I did do my little XT90s on this thing because I cannot use Deans for nothing in the world. I did put on some longer straps. Apex, straight from Amazon. They have that rubberized coating on the back that kind of tries to hold on to the batteries. And I put a heat sink on the motor mount, on the motor. It doesn't get really hot on 6S. I mean, I got it up to about 140 after an hour, and it was still running perfectly. But that was with this heatsink on it. I wasn't even about to even think about running it without it. So I've taken off the back. Battery tray brace, or whatever you want to call it. And this battery fits in there absolutely perfectly. I mean, and it's heavy as hell. So it actually weighs the car down. But that fits in there, and it ain't going anywhere at all. And it can run this car absolutely forever. I mean, I have 2 of these, and I pretty much can run the car for 30 minutes. And this thing still has charge left in it. It's still at like 3.6 volts. That's nuts. Even after 30 minutes. I mean, this motor it uses no power whatsoever. And yet it just lets this little. And this car isn't really that light, but the motor don't care. It just sends this thing flipping like crazy. And that's stock out the box. But I said I wasn't going to let this thing run past 30 minutes. So let's see what other things that I experienced out the box with this. Yeah. The brakes on this car was set at 25%. It would not stop at all. Not at all. The punch level set at 5. Yeah, nice. It has that little delay thing that Hobby Wing loves. But maybe that was more because there was nothing in the center diff. It was like a third full. So I filled all of that up. So, yeah, maybe it'll behave a little bit better. And I turned the punch up to a 7. So, yeah. I'll take it out tomorrow with the new settings after I put it back together. Hopefully I put everything back together because I haven't had this thing apart long enough to see how everything goes back or fits or whatnot. But this is turning out to be a really, really nice truck. Even for a Redcat. Even for a bunch of Chinese parts put together to form a nice little 6S truck. So, yeah, I'm going to go on and put this thing back together. Oh, yeah, another thing with the lights. Yeah, I said I wasn't going to make this thing 30 minutes long, but oh well. With the lights, they are also compartmentalized. You can take them apart, front and rear. The rear has this long cable that connects it right to the wires coming out the ESC. And they both have connectors that come out of the ESC. 2 little hold down cables that come out of the same hole. Out the same plug. And they bisect into a Y splitter. So you can take this thing apart easily. Now, these are outside of the ESC. Outside the battery tray. So they are exposed to all the stuff that you put on this car. So I will put some dielectric grease on these things just so they don't end up completely corroding and falling apart, because they will. I mean, I have enough experience with these things inside a actual car to know that they will actually just fall apart on you after a while if enough stuff and gunk gets up in them. And just, yeah. So dielectric grease, and then that'll be completely solved. And then you'll have to just keep applying dielectric grease. Maybe once a month. Because the stuff will just, it don't last forever. So once a month, put some dielectric grease on these terminals, and you'll be good to go. And the way they connect is plug side up. If you see gold, you're good. It's that simple. You don't want to do some mess like this. It will fit though, but you don't want to do that. Yeah. So go side up, plug the plug, and you're good. Now you can hardly see, but in there, if you hold this down, you'll see that that's the red side right there, and it lines up with that. So yeah, you're good. Okay, I've done enough. I can't remember everything that I want to say in this video, and it's really long right now, so I'll end it right there, get this thing back together, and get it out repping tomorrow. I love a car that can actually do standing backflips out of the box. With the settings, the stock settings this thing was on, out the box, standing backflips on 6S. Redcat Kaiju.